Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are watching this live broadcast from. Welcome. My name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with the team from Hindu Academy. So, if you are new and you've not been on this broadcast before, allow me to just share quickly how this broadcast runs. We run every Saturday from 2 to 3 UK time. And we start off with a focus topic. So today's focus topic is actually going to be on the Hanuman Jayanti, because today is the day we celebrate the occasion itself. So I just wanted to get started by sharing with you a little graphic that I found. It's really, really nice. And basically, we got this graphic with Lord Hanuman. And it says that Lord Hanuman is the symbol of strength, energy, and power. And so I wish with his blessings, his blessings should always be with you. And happy Hanuman Jayanti to everybody. Now, to get us started on this today's discussion, we have a little video. This video is along with the theme of the day. I'm going to share it right now, and I'll be back shortly after the video has been played. Bear with me as I share the screen.
We represent this very comprehensive vision of Hinduism, this vast vision of Hinduism, which is rationally oriented, makes sense, appeals to the youth. It's very necessary to pull the youth to us. Now let me just lighten up a little bit. The youth say, yes, Dilip Bhai, we are doing good job here. At King's College, they said, Dilip Bhai, every Tuesday we do Hanuman Chalisa. Come and watch us. I said, I want to watch you. Very good stuff. You're doing Hanuman Chalisa every Tuesday at the university? Fantastic. I must come and visit you. So I went to visit the students at King's College on Hanuman Chalisa. And then I was watching from the front row. And there were lots of boys and girls. It was full, about 100 youngsters singing away Hanuman Chalisa. What a marvelous sight. But while I was watching, I saw the boys picking up their little mobile phones and sending text messages. And a girl from the third row would start giggling and she'll send a text message. I said, I know why they're here. It's boy meet girls. This is a different agenda. Hanuman is forgotten here. So I said, let me just test them out. So when my time came for talk, I said, my boys, I want to ask you a question. Do you know what is the difference between Hanuman, the superhero of the Hindus, and Superman? They said, what's the difference? I said, Superman flies about, does a lot of good for the rest of community. બધાનું ભલું કરે, ઉડે. Superman પણ એમ કરે, Hanuman પણ એમ કરે. So what's the difference? They seem same, Superman and Hanuman. Is there any difference? They said, no, Dilip Bhai, there is not much difference. I said, there's one big difference. The difference is this. When Superman is flying about, he meets, of course, his girlfriend called Lois Lane. And this Lois Lane has a habit of fluttering her eyelids. And when she flutters her eyelids, Superman turns into jelly. And a pagmandya drujva. Megidu, this is the problem. If any beautiful woman went to Hanuman and started to flutter her eyelids, do you know what will happen? Hanuman will not turn into jelly. He will go near the beautiful woman and say, Mother, have you got something in your eye? આંખમાં કાંઈ ગરી ગયું છે કાઢી દઉં આ પટપટાવે મારી સામે. He will call her mother. સૌથી પહેલા મધરથી શરૂ થાય. Because this is the difference. You see this ideal of Hanuman. You see, we hear Hanuman say, Bala Buddhi. These are very powerful tools that we possess to make us spiritual. But with Hanuman comes the third word, Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya. This is an ugly word in modern society. Because for the modern youth, religion, because when they have Hindu society, university, do you know what the major activity? Bollywood dancing. I say, look, my friend, don't call it Hindu society. This is Bollywood society. There's a big difference. This dancing girl doesn't fit in These are our little daughters. You make them half dressed and dance about. This is not nice. You are demeaning their dignity, and not their dignity, the dignity of the whole Hindu community. Don't do that. This is the meaning of Hanuman Chalisa. No lovey-dovey stuff here. Think of higher ideals. This is the idea. We represent this very comprehensive vision of Hinduism.
Technical glitches galore. So I just froze in stopping the video as well. So what an interesting video from Jay-Bhai, and it's good to see Jay-Bhai in the midst of so many people. That's what Jay-Bhai in his element, as we see him before, not just on camera, but really in front of people. That's where his strength was. So, folks, I'd like to welcome our panel today. We've got Sita Ben, welcome, and Vijay Bhai as well. Manish Bhai is still on his travels, so what I will be doing is I will be asking the questions on behalf of Manish Bhai today. And so this is a big popular festival in the Hindu calendar, and it's celebrated on various days across India. But let's dig a little deeper into this. And to start with that, I'd invite you to share with us exactly who is Hanuman in the first place, and why do people love him so much?
Sita? Yeah. Okay, I can start. Yeah, so Hanuman is one of a very central character in Hinduism, and he's such an inspirational character. I mean, that everything to do with strength, humility, service, and as Jay-Bhai mentioned, buddhi, intelligence, his ocean of wisdom. I mean, his glory is known in all the three worlds. It's a very central character. He's such a central character that even when you go to a temple and pray, you actually have to pray first to Hanuman and also Ganesh as well, before you actually pray to the main deity. That's how important Hanuman is. But by and large, I think the biggest thing about Hanuman is how Hanuman can inspire us. You can see that when he was he's always seen with Lord Ram, and the way he serves Lord Ram, despite all his immense strength, immense intelligence, yet he comes across as such a humble person with humility. And it's quite interesting when you read the Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, he also cries and he goes in tears when he meets Ram. So by and large, a character for all of us to emulate in all these kind of characters. The one thing is that we kind of recite the Hanuman Chalisa every day, but I don't think many people actually look at the words carefully, because once it becomes mechanical, then you just keep on saying it. Oh, I've said it 10 times. But the words are so powerful, and all I can say is, glory to Tulsidas for writing such an amazing, Hanuman Chalisa. If you look at word for word, line for line, it's such amazing. Everything, the Hanuman is there. And then you think, oh, by the way, this is what I should become. And his focus is so dedicated in every kind of sense. It's an absolutely amazing, Hindu god that which we have in our lives. We're very lucky like that. I think one thing that Jay-Bhai mentioned about brahmacharya, that's very interesting, because Hanuman is seen as brahmacharya as well. Total dedication to service, the Lord. Yeah, none of these other extra stuff. So you can see also he's already living at a high spiritual level. And that's the other amazing thing about Hanuman. And also, that in the Ramayana, he's very simple character. As soon as once Lord Ram goes to the forest for the first time, the Aranya Khand, I think is called in the Tulsi Ramayana. Also, I think also in the Valmiki Ramayana. From then on, Hanuman is always here with him till the very last moment that Lord Ram comes back. Even then, Hanuman is always in his service. So Lord Ram, if you see any picture, Lord Ram, Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman is also there as well. That's how important Hanuman is for us. Sita?
Yeah, I think you've covered it amazingly. I think that's one of the wonderful things that Dad highlighted in the video, is that, well, what's the difference between him and Superman? Because they do the same kind of thing. Like, surely, one just looks slightly different to the other. But the wonderful quality which Hanuman really represents, which is maybe sort of underrepresented, it's not sort of given as much prominence as it should be, is this idea of brahmacharya, which is celibacy, and making sure that we don't sort of feel that we are pulled down by, being attracted to other physical bodies. Because if we want to be truly spiritual, how can you be spiritual if you're thinking about the physical and the material? So we have to rise above that. And that's what Hanuman shows. And he's very unique because, you don't get any other superheroes in anywhere else in the world who sort of, emulate this idea of celibacy, which is beautiful. And it's when Hinduism is not going around saying, oh, you should never get married, you should never have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's not saying that at all. What it's saying is that at some point in your life, your parents will get you married and, all of that. But there comes a point in your life where there is a need to sort of step away from that and focus your minds not on material things, but on spiritual things. And it's sort of done very beautifully through the ashram system of Hinduism. But at any point in our life where we feel, we need to sort of raise our minds, elevate our minds to something higher, we can look to personalities like Hanuman, who can show us that actually it's all about selflessness. It's all about not caring for me and my physical needs. It's all about looking after the other. And that's truly spiritual living. And it's a really, really beautiful story. And another very interesting aspect is the way that Hanuman is depicted as having a monkey face or a monkey head. And a lot of people who are not Hindus would think that looks so completely strange and alien, and why are they worshipping monkeys? But actually the origin of it is very interesting. I think Dad has mentioned it in previous videos, is because they sort of came from a tribe which was called the Vanara tribe, which translates as monkeys. So as the story sort of passed down from generation to generation, it then became more and more linked to the idea of monkeys, this particular tribe which was helping Ram. And that's how the stories were depicted, how the pictures were drawn, and how Hanuman came to be shown with a monkey face. And it's also, in a way, quite lucky because we're able to say that Hinduism is very much sort of showing reverence towards the animal kingdom. We don't shy away from saying, oh, animals are sort of beneath us and they're there just for our convenience and comfort. We say that animal kingdom is equally divine, and we sort of elevate the animal kingdom to the divine by incorporating their sort of imagery in our sort of gods and goddesses. So there's a lot that we can learn from Hanuman and the beautiful story.
Fantastic. So for those of you who are maybe not very aware, Hanuman Jayanti is basically a day to celebrate the birth of Lord Hanuman, also known as the monkey god. And he is the symbol of strength and energy. And he's very well known for his devotion and worship to Lord Ram, and is remembered for his selfless dedication to God. And he will be always considered as the living embodiment of a karma yogi, one whose meditation and devotion are demonstrated through hard work or service. Now, because of his selfless service to the Lord Ram, he was then granted everlasting life and promised that whenever somebody, that he will always be placed next to Ram, Lakshman, and Sita alongside. So this is a very popular festival, like I said. But before we go into the festival side of things, I'd like to share, for people who don't know, are not familiar with Hanuman, how did Hanuman come about? Who are his parents? Then we'll go into other things like his characteristics and some of the highlights of his life. There are key areas that, we hear these stories about his life. And that way, maybe we can get people who don't know about Hanuman to understand why he's such a well-loved personality in the Hindu sort of books. So, Vijay Bhai, if I can ask you, can you give us a little bit of background into Hanuman and his parents and how he was born?
So I think the story is based on, I believe his father's name was Kesari. That's why he's known as Kesari Nandan, also Anjani Putra. And by and large, is known by his mother's name, Anjani Putra. So I think, from what I recall, the story was that I believe Anjani prayed for 12 years and did a lot of penance to give birth to Hanuman. So that's by and large the story. But I think also Hanuman is seen also the son of, he's seen as the son of wind, the wind god. So he's a kind of also god, wind god as well. So I think that's the main idea behind the story. For a lot of hard work was going to actually to bring him about. I think that's kind of what I know for story. Not more than that. Sita, can you add any more on that? That's main story. I'm aware of that story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much more I can add in terms of. I know that there's a story about him when he was younger, and he sort of jumped up and swallowed the sun, and
Yes.
there's that wonderful story as well. But I think that we have to be extremely careful because a lot of people sort of fall into the trap of thinking it's literally true, but it's a colourful story, and we have to enjoy it for what it is. It's a colourful story, and they sometimes use that as a way of saying, you know, that's how an eclipse happens, or something like that. There's also a very nice story is that Hanuman is often shown with symbols of strength, which is the mace, the gada, and also he is often shown holding a mountain because as part of the Ramayana story, I think Lakshman wasn't well or something, and there was a special sort of medicine on a particular mountain, and Hanuman was asked to go and collect this special medicine from the mountain, and he got there and he didn't know which one it was. So Hanuman, being truly loyal, doing anything he can to support Ram and his cause, he lifted up the whole mountain and carried it to Ram so that they could get the right medicine from that mountain. So it's a beautiful, colourful story saying, you know, he's the embodiment of strength, he's the embodiment of celibacy, and he's also the embodiment of buddhi, which is intellect. So he's not one to be sort of easily sort of swayed from this way to that way. He uses his rational faculty, and that's another very important lesson that we can learn as part of our everyday life is, you know, think about everything that you come across. Don't just blindly sort of swallow everything that you are presented with. Think about it. If it makes sense to you, accept it. If it doesn't, then don't accept it. Hinduism is wonderful like that. It doesn't force anything down your throat. So yeah, lots of wonderful things we can learn from Hanuman.
Amazing. So according to the things that I had read before, it was like, yes, the mother is Anjana, father is Kesari, but Hanuman is also called Pavan Putra because the legend has it that King Dashrath of Ayodhya was performing a yagna called Putra Kumeshti or something like that. Basically, a yagna to have children. And there was a pudding that was prepared, and it was to be divided between the three wives, leading to the birth of Ram, Lakshman, and Bharat and Shatrughna. And a bird came and took a piece of that pudding, flew with it, and then the wind got it dropped into the outstretched palms of Anjana, who was praying. And so there's the interconnection, which is why I thought it's such a marvelous story to see how later on in life they get connected as well. So absolutely wonderful. And yes, Hanumanji is really a colorful character, one who is a central part of the moral fabric of the story of Ramayana. And so there's lots to celebrate. Now, coming to celebrate, how do people celebrate this occasion? So what's the normal sort of activities people engage in to celebrate the day?
Yeah. So I think there are many ways, I mean, to celebrate Hanuman Jayanti. I mean, it's his birthday. So I think a lot of people go to the temple and pray for his protection and ask for strength. Today morning, I also went with my children to the temple. And the usual rituals, we pray to Hanuman, we take some coconuts. And for some reason, coconuts are really associated with Hanuman. So both me and my son, and only the men do it, I guess, because of the idea of celibacy. So we actually present coconuts to Hanuman. And then, of course, you pray for strength. But also in the evening, I believe in the temple, there will be a lot of other festivities. There'll be some sort of a little ceremony, dance, or some sort of ritual, kind of a Havan kind of ceremony, all there to celebrate the birth of Hanuman. But by and large, I think most people pray for him to give them strength, to protect them, because he's got immense strength. So you can ask him protection. And also, of course, ask for his strength. And Sita mentioned Hanuman is very endearing, especially young children who love to do strong things, like as J.B. mentioned, Superman. So I want to be like Hanuman, strong. I can lift a mountain, So by and large, I need to ask for strength, to ask for wisdom as well, because Hanuman is very wise, wisdom. So ask for all these qualities that we all aspire towards and pray to Hanuman to try and give those qualities and make sure that we kind of get those qualities. Yeah. Sita?
Yeah, and I think you've covered it. I mean, sometimes people recite the Hanuman Chalisa many, many times, about 108 times they recite it. I took my daughter this morning, she was really enjoying it. She said, Mommy, why are there so many bananas here? So yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful time to take time out of your daily routine, go to the temple, think about the wonderful sort of qualities that you can imbibe from Hanuman. And another thing that we can sort of pick up from him is his immense devotion to Ram. He was, prepared to do anything. He would sacrifice his own life for Ram, and it's a really, really beautiful story. And he's the sort of embodiment of, the Bhakti tradition in that way. He's so close to his ideal that, in a way, he kind of reaches the conclusion of Bhakti Yoga through his sort of love and devotion towards Ram. There is that beautiful image of Hanuman where he opens up his chest and there is Ram inside his chest. And that's really the sort of conclusion of Bhakti Yoga, is that you love your, you have so much love and devotion for that particular form of God that eventually you're no longer able to distinguish between yourself and the, your object of love, which is God. So you essentially find God is inside you through that whole process of Bhakti Yoga. So yeah, that's another wonderful thing that we can learn from him.
Fantastic. So one of the most popular things to do on this day, like Vijay Bhai said, is to chant the Hanuman Chalisa. And that was, written many, many years ago by a poet, Tulsidas. And it is about Hanuman and Chalisa because it has 40 verses in it. But, just to showcase how popular this Hanuman Chalisa is, just wanted to show that there is one video, I think it was produced by T-Series and sung by Hari Haran on YouTube, which is a Hanuman Chalisa song. That's got over 2 billion views as of, I think, last year or something like that when I saw it. So, very, very popular kind of thing to do on this day. Now, to close off, do you, any of you have any final things to share about Hanuman Jayanti?
All I can add is regarding what Sita mentioned about Lord Ram and Hanuman, the dynamics between Lord Ram and Hanuman. That is actually one of the most endearing messages you see in the Ramayana. If you study Tulsi Ramayana, which is part of, by the way, part of the GCSE syllabus, chapter 4, in Kiskinda Khan, when first time Ram meets Hanuman, it is so beautiful. I mean, the words that Tulsidas use, it actually, once it catches your eye, you can't let that particular Kiskinda, when you're reading it, you're so absorbed in the dynamics. The way Hanuman sees Ram coming from far for the first time, and he goes, who are this handsome young man, with, strong arms, right? Yeah. And such, what do you call, tender feet, what are they doing in the forest? And when he meets them and he goes in a disguise, of course, because Sugriva has told, because he doesn't know, he was scared that somebody might come in from Bali, who was the opponent, his brother who was trying to kill him. So he might be sent by him. So he went in a disguise to meet them. And then, of course, the dynamics you hear. And then eventually when Hanuman finds out who these two, actually it calls them Nar and Narayana. They do look like Nar and Narayan themselves, the great gods. And then as soon as he finds out, he actually just burst out into tears. He actually, despite being immensely strong, he was actually lost for words. And that dynamics, it really shows you, as Sita mentioned, what bhakti is, what is true bhakti. And eventually when Hanuman said, I am not even worthy of your, the dust on your feet. And then Lord Ram actually picks him up and said, you are actually twice as more valuable than my own brother. My devotees are far more valuable to me than even my own brother. And that dynamics you hear in the Kiskinda Khan, is, I must say, I give huge credit to Tulsidas. I mean, you can go on YouTube and listen to many videos, but if you get a chance to listen to this Kiskinda Khan, Sundar Khan, please listen. It's so beautiful. And I mean, it's one of the gems of, Hindu poetry as well. But that's all I can add to it. It's amazing. What a true devotee of God should be like. It's actually, Hanuman is the best example. Yeah.
Amazing. So now we will just go into the normal Q&A session. So I am still waiting on a couple of questions to come in from the viewers on another topic. They're just having a discussion on everything to do with Hanuman Jayanti yet, and talking about how in various parts of the world they are celebrating it at their end as well. So, okay, so we are coming to a section where I would like to just highlight a couple of things while we wait for the questions to roll in. If I could just quickly share a couple of resources. So for those of you who are new to the Hindu Academy channel, I would really encourage you to get started with this course we've got here, the Basics of Hinduism course. We also do have an advanced Hinduism course that is suitable for people who are going to sit for the Cambridge board exams for Hinduism in O-levels. And if you're looking to learn something about Sanskrit, we also have an associated course here as well. If you want to find out more about what we do, we have a website here at hindu-academy.com, and you will find all the information. If you need to reach out to me, you can do so here. My contact details are there. And of course, we've got our YouTube channel where we've got over 3,000 videos that you can read at your own, view at your own leisure. Now, coming back to the questions in hand, Sitaben, do you have any update for us on the work that you're doing with the Eton College? How is that getting along?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they're currently all on Easter holidays at the moment. But yeah, no, it's actually working really well. Everyone is very nice. And some latest news is that they've just recently appointed a Sikh tutor there as well, which is really great because it's sort of a bit more representation to the Eastern faiths, not just Christianity and Islam, but it's got Buddhist tutor, Hindu tutor, and now a Sikh tutor as well, which is very good news. We're going to be meeting him next week, which is very great. And I mean, to be honest, there hasn't been much development since last week because they're all on Easter holiday. But yeah, we're currently just going through, a lot of the topics that we do at GCSE, which include these very controversial, very difficult ethical and moral decisions around euthanasia, abortion, genetic engineering, cloning. We're sort of seeing what Hinduism has to say about all of these very difficult topics, and they get very sort of into it. They very much enjoy that. I think they enjoy that more so than the sort of, the basic information giving part of it, where, you talk about rituals and festivals and that kind of thing. They really get their teeth into this kind of controversial thinking and what Hinduism's place is in the world with all of these very difficult topics. So yeah, very good. It's carrying on, and we've got more diversity now with the Sikh tutor.
Amazing. So now we have a question. So, we have various branches of science within, I'll say within the subcontinent. One of it is Ayurveda. Now, how does Ayurveda relate to Hinduism?
Sita? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I can start. So Ayurveda is actually very much part of Hinduism. We say that in Hinduism we have the 4 Vedas, which we all know, the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. But also something called the 4 Upavedas, applied knowledge Vedas, which are also seen as, I think one thing we have to keep in mind is, I think Sita reminds us quite often that the way we practice spirituality comes in many facets in Hinduism. We're not just, praying, reading a book. Even the activities you do is part of a spiritual endeavor. And as such, the 4 Upaveda, which are kind of popular in ancient time in India, were Dhanurveda, which is the knowledge of the bow and arrow. There should be the Gandharva Veda, which is dance idea. There should be this, I think, the architecture one, I think, is Vastu kind of applied knowledge. And the other one is Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is also a very spiritual endeavor. And India has vast knowledge of, medicine. By the way, Ayurveda's main aim is prevention. People forget it's not cure. The whole idea of Ayurveda is prevention of, to give a healthy body. So all the knowledge of Ayurveda is how do you keep yourself healthy so you don't get ill. That's the main goal of Ayurveda. And India has got vast knowledge. I believe there was I think 2 years ago, one lady from South India, I think it was called Tulsi Gowda. She was given a Padma Award by Indian government, and she had knowledge of over 10,000 different plants in her head, and every plant and how it works. So India, by the way, is very lucky because of its climate, from all the way from the cold climate from the north to the heat, and to South India where it rains a lot, and in Assam. So all kinds of plants grow in India. So it's not surprising that India is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to herbal and plant medicine. So Ayurveda is a very, very powerful topic. So it is part of Hinduism in the sense that it's an endeavor to how to make people better, and how to people have healthy bodies so they can spend more time for the spiritual goals. So in that sense, it's also linked to Hinduism. Sita? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think in a way, because Hinduism, or the Indian culture, has a habit of sort of spiritualizing everything that it deals with, not just sort of looking at meditation and thinking about God. We try to spiritualize every aspect of our life, and that also includes this idea of medicine and healing. And the wonderful thing is, it can really sort of complement current medicine. It's not lost its place in the world. It can really sort of complement and offer sort of more natural remedies, because with a lot of the allopathic medicines you get these days, you get so many side effects. When you open up your box, there's like 50 different side effects, and some of them are like really unpleasant. So sometimes it's really nice to be able to resort to sort of more natural remedies, which can provide that healing in a much more gentle way, rather than being sort of rough and ready like these ones can be. So yeah, that's the beauty about Ayurveda.
Fabulous. And I guess it's also during some of our rituals, we see some of the plants and things used in a strategic way, like the neem trees and so on and so forth. So amazing. Yeah, it's really good to see how there's a strong link between science and spirituality as well. Now, I have another question here from Rahul. Rahul is one of our regular viewers, and he's asking, when did Hindu Academy start in the UK? Now, Vijay, you've been involved in this for a long time. Perhaps you can shed some light on this.
I think this is actually Sita kind of question, because I did join, I've been 20 years now, 18 years at least, maybe more than that. But it was started actually by Jay Bhai, because I think he was struggling to find a teacher for Sita, ironically. So Sita, I think, can you elaborate a bit more?
So let's hear the story from Sita Bendan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting story. So I think I was about 4 years old, and I think Dad was then looking around. You get classes for Gujarati and dance and all of these. They were all sort of very readily available. But when it came to studying about religion and Hinduism, he couldn't actually find anything available. So it's actually my mum's idea. She said, why you should, because Dad always told me bedtime stories, with all these colourful gods and goddesses, and I loved it. He was so good at it. And then my mum had the idea, why don't you set up the class? Why don't you start teaching children about Hinduism? And then Dad was actually quite shy. You'd never believe it now. But at that time, he was like, no, I can't talk in front of other people. Like, you wouldn't be able to believe it now. But that's how it started. And he put up some adverts in the local area. And it was a very, very small enterprise to start with. There were just 3 little girls, myself and 2 other little girls. And Dad would just we'd spend half an hour, doing stories about Hinduism. We would then draw pictures about it and sing some shlokas and go home. And that's all there was to it. Actually, we got a Swami from the Ramakrishna mission to also come and sort of talk to the children about religion and Hinduism. But then after a few months, he was unable to continue. And then Dad was panicking. He said, what are we going to do? Now we've got a class of 10 or 15 children and no one to teach them. And then it was my mum that said, why don't you start teaching them? So that's how the whole thing started. My mum saying, go on, you can talk. So that's how it started. And then as the children grew up a bit, we started becoming teenagers, and then we saw that there was an opportunity to start doing GCSE level Hinduism at religious education. So then we started training for that, and we know everyone did so incredibly well, and we're very lucky that we had Dad as a teacher. He never thought of himself as a teacher for Hinduism at all to start with. He was just a businessman. So making this complete change in lifestyle was wonderful, and then from there it just grew and grew, and then we got 50 children, 100 children from all over the country learning about Hinduism. Dad would go up and down the country to Leicester and Birmingham every weekend teaching Hinduism for free. He literally, I wouldn't see him for half the weekend. He would just be out doing lectures and going to schools and all over the weekends, weekdays, and it just expanded and grew. So during the weekdays he would go to normal schools where they're learning about Hinduism. Weekends he would be teaching Hindu children through these Hinduism classes, and it just expanded from there. And then Vijay Bhai obviously knows the rest of it, where we got involved with doing GCSE and A level on a much larger scale. And Vijay Bhai, if you want to add anything on that.
All I can say is that when I joined about 18 years ago, and even at that time, Jay Bhai was immensely busy, and so we said, okay, when I approached, maybe I can help you a little bit. He goes, by the way, if you, just warning, he gave me advance warning that if you start working with me, you are trapped, and that's it. Your life is gone. It always. But anyway, I think the thing is, although there's a lot of work to be done, even now there's so much work we do. But the fact that Jay Bhai was himself an inspiration to us, I mean, he would never sit down, and we just felt that we can never match him, but at least even though we can't, we have to do what we can. But he can be quite a tough taskmaster. If he wants things done, I want these papers marked by this time. I want the syllabus set by this time. And so it was very tough because he really, he was genuine. He was very genuine in his quest. And we had a lot of volunteers. Something also interesting to mention about Hindu Academy. You'll be surprised to learn that we don't have any kind of what do you call big budgets. Everything is voluntary. Everything is free. And even in the account, we only have about 1,000, 2,000 pounds at max. We don't keep any money in our accounts. And actually, there was a time, you'd be surprised, there was a time when somebody offered large donation to Jay Bhai. And Jay Bhai said, look, this is beyond our capacity to spend this much. If you spend too much money, then if you don't have the capacity, it goes to waste. And plus, something interesting is that the more money we have lying in the bank account, it smells, means it's actually going to be misused. So better to work frugally, and that's our motto even now. We work very frugally. I mean, I print everything myself. Sita does a lot of things herself. So by and large, it's purely voluntary, and I think that's what makes it long-lasting, because we all do it through our dedication. There's no monetary gain at all. Again, this is something directly from Jay Bhai. This is something that he's imbibed in all of us. Because that's how it works. Yeah, it has to come from your heart. So amazing inspiration to us, Jay Bhai.
It's wonderful to see the journey of where it started with humble beginnings and where we are today, making an impact on thousands and thousands of lives. And that was the vision that he had. And, we have something in English, they say, your vibe attracts your tribe. We are Jay Bhai's band of merry followers because of his passion, his drive, his vision. And that's why we are still here pushing along with this work, although we can't match up to his level, but we do our bit. And so that is basically a great story to listen to. And thank you for sharing that. We move on to the next question, which is, Hinduism is a way of life. So we don't have a religion called Hinduism, but it's rather called Sanatan Dharma. But how old is Sanatan Dharma? So that is a question asked by one of the viewers.
Okay. So all I can add is that if you ever read the Rig Veda, or I think the early Veda, Rig Veda, what you find is that the earliest beliefs of man, I mean, even when he was scared of thunder, lightning, you'd find those beliefs in the Rig Veda. So Sanatana Dharma has a very beautiful explanation, which If you read Sita's book, Sanatana Dharma actually means trying to find the divine truths, looking internally and externally, and trying to work out what all this is about. And that's the basic what Sanatana Dharma is. Sanatana Dharma cannot have a starting time because from the earliest men, they've been inspiring to find out what all this is. So that's the beauty thing about Rig Veda, because the earliest, actually, if you pick any belief in the world, forget Hindu belief, say you go to the American Indians and they do this trance beliefs where they have, they go in a trance, they do some dream state stuff. If you go to the African traditions where they take some special plants to go in an altered state of mind, in Hinduism, you have something called Soma they used to use. So the thing is, every belief you can see from the earliest beliefs when people are worshipping nature to the highest beliefs of the Upanishads, where you look internal inward, everything is in the Sanatana Dharma. And as we repeat again and again, the quest for spirituality has got no fixed point or there's no fixed end as such. There's no one way. So any endeavor you pursue with dedication, discipline, is spiritual endeavor. Sanatana Dharma, in that sense, is very hard to put an early date because the earliest beliefs of humanity are part of Hinduism. So where do you start? I mean, see, it's difficult to give an age to that. I mean, outside since the dawn of man, basically, Sita.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, it's very, very difficult to put a date on it, because it just started through this sort of journey of introspection, not just of one person, but of so many hundreds of thousands of rishis over the ages, and it sort of accumulated and became this wonderful philosophy of living. So you spiritualize every aspect of your life, and I think we also have to be careful because you get some people who get carried away and they say, oh, we're millions of years old and all of this, and we weren't even human beings that long ago. So you have to be very careful and not sort of over exaggerate. It's a very, very ancient tradition, one of the most ancient traditions in the world that survived so many sort of onslaughts throughout the ages, so many invasions, so many people trying to knock it down, but it survived because of its vastness, of its openness, because you can sort of interpret it the way you like. You take what you like from it and you don't need to take all of it. So it's really wonderful. It gives such tremendous flexibility, not just in terms of its scriptures, its ways of thinking about God, its way of making spiritual progress. And it's an incredibly valuable thing to have in our lives. And we're just trying to share that with everybody through the Hindu Academy, really.
Fabulous. So we have a request from one of our regular viewers. This is Christine from the US. She's asked if we can share a little bit more information about Hanuman. I will try and get some information. So basically, Hanuman, the name remains unclear where it came from, but he's also known by various other names as well. So we talked about Anjani Putra or Anjaneya. We've got Kesari Nandan. We've got Pavan Putra. We've got Bajrang Bali. We've also got Sankat Mochan. We've got Maruti, is the son of Maruta, or the another name for the Vayudev. We've got Ramdut and many other names. Now, his sort of name was there in the central text, which is the Ramayana, but it's also in other epics as well, like the Mahabharata and various other Puranas. And he is basically viewed as the ideal combination of strength, heroic initiative, and assertive excellence. He is known also for his loving and emotional devotion to Lord Ram, and in many other like modern art forms like wrestling or acrobatics or activities such as he's known as the god of martial arts, for example, right? And he's also associated a lot with meditation and diligent scholarship, and he symbolizes the human excellences of inner self-control, faith, and service to a cause which is hidden behind the first impressions of a being that looks like an ape man or Vanar that we spoke about. But he is considered to be a bachelor and an exemplary celibate. So that's a little bit about Hanuman, and we go back to normal Q&A. So the next question is Hanuman an incarnation of Lord Shiva? So I did find out a little bit about this, and I looked at an article online, and it says that he is one of the 19 avatars of Lord Shiva. But if you could throw some light on this.
Again, Shiva is so versatile. I mean, Shiva is seen in everybody, even within us. Technically, people can say you see Shiva in us as well. But I think some people are known as much more special. So many, I think, great people, deities have been seen to be kind of avatars of Shiva or embodiment of Shiva as well. So I've seen in some texts as well. I'm quite happy if we want to see him as avatar of Shiva. There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. Shiva is like very versatile. He can be seen in so many different, in different forms. And that's the beauty about Shiva. That's all I can kind of add on to that. Sita?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things we'll never 100% really know for sure, but it's a beautiful idea because essentially they are all one. They are all the spirit, essentially, at the end of the day. And it just reminds me very much of what people say about Swami Vivekananda. They say that he is also considered to be an incarnation of Shiva because he embodies the same kind of qualities that he does. These ideas of not caring for the externals, having this idea of renunciation, meditation, grace, all of these intellect, so all of these beautiful qualities that are sort of associated with Shiva and Hanuman are also associated with Swami Vivekananda as well. So yeah, I mean, they are ultimately all beautiful spirits which are all the same inside. They are the spirit percolating, but more clearly than us normal people. So we've got a lot to learn from these wonderful giants.
Fabulous. And it seems like today's topic has really hit the spot because I have another question, which is that Lord Ram's army is said to have been composed of monkeys and bears as well. Can this really be true?
Yeah. Sita, you never go that.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating because, as we said, the story was passed on by word of mouth, and from generation to generation, it would keep altering. Some bits were taken out, some bits were added. And sometimes the thing is, when you don't know of a particular tribe that lives in a faraway place, suppose you're in North India and this tribe they're talking about is in Southern India, you give them all sorts of different names. So as I said before, Hanuman belonged to the Vanar tribe, and then when you translate that into English, it translates as monkey. So then we say, oh, this is the monkey tribe, and then eventually pictures get drawn of that tribe looking like monkeys. And similar thing would have happened with the bears. I'm not sure exactly which name was used, but a bear tribe kind of name would have been used for a tribe that was unknown and far away. And you have to remember that, we didn't have social medias and taking pictures, and we didn't know what these people looked like from a faraway land. So we just gave them these kind of names of distant people, distant lands, and they got associated with these kinds of names like monkeys and bears. And when it's sort of depicted in a pictorial way, that's how it's shown. And you think, oh, this sounds completely crazy. How could monkeys and bears have gone and fought on a battle? It just doesn't make sense. But when you think of it in this particular way, it does kind of make sense how, because we didn't know what these ancient, these people from faraway places looked like, or we didn't really know anything about them. So these were the names given to them. And then that's how it got sort of depicted in a story-like format. In a way, it just makes the story more colourful. But we have to understand that we don't actually think that monkeys and bears went and fought in a battle. Vijay, do you have anything to add?
So I think I agree with that. We have to be very careful because I think the message is very endearing of Ramayana. The message we learn, the things we learn are very important that we imbibe in our lives. But we have to be careful and make sure, as Jay mentioned, keep our rational faculty in place. Were there really some speaking bears as real bears or real monkeys? You have to be very careful. I mean, there's one good thing about this is that it again shows, as I mentioned, that the divinity in Hinduism is everywhere in all life, and that's something that comes across very strongly, and that's a beautiful thing. But we have to be careful and think, oh no, there's actually a tribe speaking, speaking and really intelligent in the sense that a real bear, that you have to try and make a distinction and be careful that how we approach this story. Yeah.
Fabulous. Now, look, where does the time go? We are already 50 minutes into the broadcast. I still have a few questions to go, though. So Charmaine has asked us a question. Charmaine is one of our regular viewers over in South Africa. And I just have to say thank you, because I never miss seeing Charmaine on a weekly call. Charmaine, Christine, Ali, just for YouTube. There are some solid regulars on the channel, and it's my turn to say thank you and appreciate all your feedback, your questions, your thoughts and comments. And this is Charmaine's question. It is said that where Sri Ram is, Hanumanji is too. And that's why he is in the Mahabharata, because Sri Krishna is an avatar of Lord Vishnu too. Any thoughts on this?
Vijay. Sorry, you're on mute, Vijay.
Thank you. So one thing to keep in mind is that actually Hanuman is also very, very important central character in the Mahabharata. He's, by the way, on the flag of Arjun's chariot. So he's actually protecting Arjun in that sense. As you said, today is Hanuman Jayanti, we pray for protection. So he's on that flag. And I think also there's a lot of stories, by the way, of Bhim and Hanuman. They're seen as brothers, both from, gifts from a kind of the Lord Vayu, yes, the wind god in that sense. So both brothers as well. So there's a lot of stories regarding that. But by and large, it is said also Krishna was, even for Krishna, Ram was very endearing at that time. So the avatar of Lord Vishnu. So I mean, as Krishna, Krishna and Ram, in fact, they're both avatars. But I think Hanuman transcends all this. So it's true that people say Hanuman is always there wherever Ram is in that sense. So in effect, you can say that Krishna was for both Krishna and Hanuman, Ram was always there to them. They never see him as separate. So that's, I guess, Ram is always present. Sita?
Yeah, I mean, because the love between Ram and Hanuman was so strong, all you can really say is that they are one person. I mean, Hanuman is just a piece of Ram's heart, essentially. So yeah, they're just they're intertwined, and they have a beautiful story together. And it's wonderful that it sort of overflows into other stories of Hinduism as well.
So we have one viewer asking us that they're starting out in Hinduism. And so the question is, when and how should we do the morning spiritual practices?
That is actually a tricky question, because it varies from person to person. But by and large, I know that it is said that we should try and do early morning practice just before sunrise, because all the baggage you had from the previous day, you have slept through it. You now got a fresh, open mind. There's the least noise, and there's a lot of ambient, birds and other kind of sounds, which put in a very spiritual kind of, mode. So they say before the hyper activity starts off in the day, it's the best time to do this morning practice. So by and large, I think, I mean, it's difficult to judge this in the, in the northern or southern hemisphere, when the time of day varies a lot. Sun will rise at nearly at 4 in the morning in summer. So how do you judge? But by and large, at a time when it's a lot of peace and quiet, there's not that much noise, and also your mind is fresh for the day. So best time to do any practice. The practice could be anything. I mean, depending on what your background is, your aptitude is. It could be yoga, it could be chanting, it could just be puja, rituals. It could be anything. But I guess would be the best time in the morning. But again, it's part of individual choice. Sita?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of Hinduism. There are no sort of hard and fast rules. So as Vijay Bhai said, you can do the early morning, you can do dusk, you can do evening time. They're both considered to be quite peaceful times where the environment is a bit calmer. But you don't have to. That's the wonderful thing. You're not going to get told off if you don't do it at that time. You can do it at midday, you can do it at midnight, whenever is suitable for you. And even what you do, there's no hard and fast rule. No one is going to tell you off if you do things slightly differently. You may want to meditate because you may want to focus on introspection. You may want to have a particular image of God that you love, and sort of build a relationship of love with that form, and meditate on that particular form of God. You can do the Arti ceremony, which is a welcoming ceremony for God. There's all sorts of guidelines involved in terms of if you want to do a traditional puja. But even if you just light a lamp and just remember God for a minute, that's a way of, you know, carrying out your ritual in a way that suits you and sort of suits your requirements. So there's no hard and fast rules. That's the beauty of it. You can do whatever ceremony you like, whenever you like, really.
Fabulous. So I think we're about to round off the session for today with one last question. This is a question from Haran on YouTube. The question is Shaivism fully Advaita?
Sita, you have a go. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, very interesting one, because you often think, you know, Shiva is, you know, God with form, so you have to develop, you know, love for that particular form of God, which is of course true with Shiva. But the difference with him and other sort of, you know, gods and goddesses and their traditions is that it really does incorporate this Advait philosophy within it, because you have the aphorism Shivoham, Shivoham, which means I am Shiva, and you can't really do Vishnuham, Vishnuham. It doesn't work. So this Shiva tradition really is quite empowering, because it brings this idea of you are God, you are spirit, and it's a very, very encompassing, very all-inclusive, beautiful tradition. You know, so it very much incorporates the idea of the female as you know, very much an equal part to the male, with this idea of the Ardhanarishwar, half male, half female. You know, he is called Gananath, which means Lord of all the groups, regardless of your background, where you are from, you are welcomed by Shiva. And the wonderful thing about his name is his name means grace. So he bestows his grace on everyone, and he wants you to recognize that you are the spirit. So what more philosophy can you do than that? Vijay Bhai?
I think there's not much more to add, Sita. Pretty well. Shiva can be both Dvait and Advait. That's all I can add to that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So folks, we are now at the end of today's broadcast. As always, I like to end with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. I'm going to share a quote for today, which reads, this is an old one, but probably one of his finest ones. Arise, awake, stop not until your goal is achieved. With that, we'd like to wish you all a fabulous bank holiday weekend here in the UK. Happy Easter to those who are celebrating. Happy Hanuman Jayanti to those who are celebrating as well. And may you have a peaceful and healthy week ahead. And we look forward to seeing you next week, 2 o'clock UK time as always. For now, thank you so much, Vijay Bhai and Sita Ben, for all your effort in answering the questions. We've got some amazing feedback from the viewers. And I think it was overall a fantastic session that I personally enjoyed thoroughly. So folks, see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.